He films himself doing the blood work. They asked permission. They said no. They filmed anyway. He's getting blood work in a different country. And so if you think, oh, he had somebody else do it for him, what are the odds that he would have been able to do this? The results are in. Hussein Farhat yet again got drug tested to see if he's on steroids. And by drug test, I mean blood work was taken. It wasn't an actual drug test to see if he was blasting test and trend. Blood work, in my opinion, far more accurate than doing a drug test. This was third-party tested. Hussein did not choose this. He was told, you show up here. And so Dr. Adams Hotchkiss from Algo was selected. And so Hussein had to then drive his vehicle to the United States. And to do that, he had to bring his passport. He's getting blood work in a different country. And so if you think, oh, he had somebody else do it for him, what are the odds that he would have been able to do this? I would estimate the chances that Hussein had somebody else fake the blood test for him to be roughly 1 in a million. He films himself doing the blood work. They asked permission. They said no. They filmed anyway. They knew that if you didn't see him actually do this, that you would say it wasn't him. It wasn't me. It was, in factually, him. He is him. And remember, this was not weeks after. It's not like this guy is Julian who says he's going to get his blood work done and then weeks later he goes and tries to do it. This is as soon as he's requested, he goes to do it. And remember, the results of this, $100,000 on the line. And so if he fails, $100,000 he's going to lose. And so this is LabCorp. It says his name. We've taken out certain private information, but guys, he didn't pay them off. This is not AI. This is not Photoshop. This is directly from the lab. It's not fake. You have to simply have some faith. And so the first thing you need to see is that everything is in the reference range, but I want you to look very specifically at hemoglobin. Hemoglobin's 14.7. When you do steroids, when you're on performance-enhancing drugs, typically you have more red blood cells, and that is going to go up. Does this show any signs whatsoever? Absolutely not. And so before, I've already predicted what you're going to say. Oh, he just donated blood. That's easy. I know that if you have high hemoglobin and so on, you can donate your blood. It's going to lower that. If that actually happened, he would have reduced levels of iron and ferritin. Notice he does not. And so you can't just say, oh, he would have done this. You don't know how to read blood work. And so stop arguing. It's like a 7-year-old trying to argue with somebody who has a PhD in mathematics. 3 + 3 is 6. Nope, it's not. It's 5, teacher. He's not on steroids based on this part. And some of you are going to say, yeah, but he had time to hop off. I mean, he had perhaps a week's notice. I mean, couldn't he have just stopped and then it would have went down to normal? No, it would take about 3 months. So far, points for Hussein. Next, we see complete metabolic panel, brackets 14. And so you see some numbers saying low and high. These are out of the reference range. This is not normal. And so something's fishy is going on. And so what we notice is that his glucose is actually low 57. And what we know of Hussein, he's actually been on a cut. He had bulked following his dieting competition where he got down 166 pounds. He bulked up to 189. He says he was eating 10,000 calories a day, couldn't handle the cravings, all the crumble and so on. I always tell people to reverse diet. He didn't listen. And so he's now been on a very low calorie diet, oftentimes eating 16 to 1,800 calories a day. And remember, this patient was not fasting. He actually had eaten before doing this test. Remember, he'd driven multiple hours to do this test. He wasn't fasting, yet still had low glucose. And so what that means, he's on a very low calorie diet. Now, notice how the bun is high. Hussein is eating a shit ton of protein. Bodybuilders typically eat a lot of protein. Almost any bodybuilder on a very high protein diet is going to have higher or elevated levels of bun. This does not indicate steroids. There's no relevance. The bun to creatinine ratio is not a steroid test. It's not a test that, hey, he's on testosterone. It's going to cause this ratio to change. It's inconclusive. And so no points for Hussein, but no points against him either. This is a neutral setting. Look at the liver enzymes. We have AST and ALT, 26 and 19. It's very low. And so he's not only is he not on performance-enhancing drugs, he's also likely not drinking any alcohol. Also, bilirubin is normal. And so No signs of liver issues, which from taking orals would be highly suspect. And so this is a point in Hussein's favor. Also, albumin and protein total, where it says 7 and 4.5, those are a lot lower than typically seen on people who are using steroids. Next, his lipid panel. Now remember, if you've done steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, oftentimes it's going to lower your HDL, and it can take months to get it back to normal. You'll often see people on steroids. This is including myself when I was taking test trend and so on. The cholesterol, it's out of whack. Look at the cholesterol, the triglycerides, the HDL, the non-HDL, the LDL-C, all normal. And the most advanced measurement of LDL, ApoB, you can see that below at 84, also normal. And so when you look at this, I don't care who you are, show these results to anyone. They're so far thinking, bro, is probably natural. Is it possible that the person could have taken something in the past and it would show up like this right now? Yes. If they had stopped several months ago, they could have returned back to normal. And consider this. He wasn't fasting, he had eaten before doing this test, and all these markers are still normal. When you eat prior to the test, these can elevate these numbers significantly. And so the fact that he had eaten and it's still low, it shows even further that bro is probably natural. But you're thinking, oh, he probably contacted Vigorous Steve and he taught him exactly what to do to beat the test. And so he would have said, you know what, bro, lie about fasting. Say that you ate breakfast, but don't actually eat it, and that'll fool the test. Or perhaps he contacted Derek, swish tren with alcohol, and it'll absorb sublingually, and you'll beat the test. Even if that was possible, it might beat a drug test. You're not beating the blood work. If you consume tren, testosterone, and it has any effect whatsoever, it's going to shut your body down. You think you can swallow tren sublingually, Anavar sublingually, and so on, and it's not going to affect your blood whatsoever? What? It's the hack, it's the miracle? If this was actually the case, it would be worth perhaps $1 trillion. If that were only possible, and no, he didn't have a fake cock to do the test. I asked a bunch of people on my DMs and Instagram and so on. I said, hey, why do you think he's fake? How do you think he faked it? And so I'm answering all these questions throughout the test. People had the most ridiculous ideas. I think the fake cock and the tren swished with vodka, those ones took the cake. Or the person that said, oh, he just took HCG, he took enclomiphene, he took all these magical ingredients, and it was probably Vigorous Steve that coached him. The odds of that, it's closer to 1 in a million that someone would have done that than the bro just actually is natural. He could have been tested at any time. And so if you said, oh, he stopped taking steroids 3 months before this, well, he did offer all that money. He could have been tested at any time. He's still training. Now remember, he could get tested tomorrow. You want him to test him again? You're thinking, oh, the day after he did this test, he hopped on steroids. Well, if that's true, test him. $100,000 if you're right. Is that not worth it? Are you starting to understand? But thing is, you're never going to understand. If you still believe there's no way possible right now, this video isn't going to convince you. You're just going to think, no, the fake cock, it's fake blood, it's AI. He didn't actually go to the States. Coach Greg paid the people off. This is all make-believe. And so next, let's get into some of the hormones. LH and FSH, I think everybody understands that these are going to be suppressed while taking performance-enhancing drugs. If your LH is low and your FSH is low, your body is simply depressed. You probably took some steroids, Anavar, SARMs, Ostarine, whatever, and your body isn't producing those hormones as much. You're likely not producing as much testosterone. They're both normal. And notice the ratio. The LH is 3.4 and FSH is 2.7. Remember the Natty or Not I just posted where he outed himself? His LH was 10.8. His FSH was about the same, 2.6. And so do you see the ratio was significantly off? That would indicate he was on something like enclomiphene. And so because of these results, it's most likely he's not taking anything. He wasn't on a PCT, because if he was, we would see it in the blood work. And so had he have taken HCG, his LH, it would have been suppressed. It would have been lower. It's not lower. He's not on HCG. And remember, enclomiphene, it does the opposite. It makes LH very high, the opposite of HCG. But his LH, it's normal. Unlike the other Natty or Not, where his LH was through the roof, 10.8, Hussein's is not. And so this is indicative of a normal, natural person's blood work. And so sometimes when people go on steroids, it reduces their ability to have kids. This is something that can actually happen, not for everyone. And so because of the infertility, the body is trying to produce babies. And so the FSH will actually come back higher faster than the LH. The LH will be lower and the FSH will be higher. We don't see this here. The LH is higher than the FSH. And so this 100% normal. Next, testosterone levels. We see 589 nanograms per deciliter. That's close to 600. This is perfectly normal. This is a normal person's testosterone. Had he done the test a little bit earlier, could it have been higher? Yeah, maybe it would have been 650. We don't know. But a normal person's testosterone is going to be in the several hundreds. If it had been 1,000 plus, 2,000 would have been like, hey, this is strange. It's over 1,000, but it's nearly 600. That seems normal. It's perfectly acceptable. And considering he's actually in a calorie deficit, it isn't all that bad. Some people are saying, oh, if your testosterones are only 500s and so on, it's not high enough. This is normal. It doesn't have any problems with this whatsoever. It doesn't have any signs of taking HRT and so on. And so you got to conclude still, it seems he's natural. Next, designer steroids, the secret ones, special ones, they oftentimes will increase prolactin. Notice his prolactin's 5.2. It's normal. And so, again, he's probably not on steroids. And next up, the free testosterone. This is the testosterone that your body's actually going to use. It's at 14.4. Normal's between 9.3 and 26. And so he's not in the high normal. He's closer to just below half, 50%. And so he has normal amount of testosterone circulating through his body. It's nothing special. IGF-1 is 208. The range, 109 to 353. He's closer to the low end than a higher end. Do you really think he's on MK677, growth hormone, and so on when his IGF-1 levels are normal? And we remember that his glucose levels were relatively low. Lower glucose levels, typically you'll see higher IGF-1 levels. And so how could he be on IGF-1, growth hormone, MK677, have low blood glucose levels, and have normal IGF levels all at the same time? I'm telling you, he's not. And if he is, he's doing fake shit. If Hussein's a fake natty, he's using fake growth hormone, fake IGF, fake MK677, and this isn't working. And so here's a question. If you take fake steroids, fake SARMs, fake everything, it's all fake and you think it's real, the placebo effect is strong. You're thinking I'm on performance-enhancing drugs, but they're not actually performance-enhancing. They're sugar pills. Are you still natty? Comment below. I'm saying you're natty. You're thinking, I'm a fake natty, you're all proud of yourself, I'm fake natty, I'm tricking them, but really, the joke's on you. You aren't on anything. Perhaps that's what's me. I've been telling you all I'm on 140 milligrams in a week. What if I'm on nothing? What if I'm doing fake testosterone? Imagine that. Next, this one is very telling. Sex hormone binding globulin, SHBG, 31. When you're on androgens, for example, if he was on low dose HRT, for example, myself, 140 milligrams a week, my SHBG is very low. It's in the teens. When you're natural, it's typically going to be a little bit higher. But when you're on androgens, even if it had been in a couple weeks ago and you had stopped, SHBG usually is suppressed. It's not suppressed. It's in the 30s. And again, this is why I prefer blood work over an actual steroid drug test, because you could actually come off of many steroids and beat the drug test. Test suspension, it's in and out like that. In a week, you're passing the drug test. There's no test suspension in your body. But SHBG would be severely suppressed. You would see it. The fact that Hussein has passed every single marker, the puzzle's complete. He's not on steroids. He's not on SARMs. He's not on growth hormone. You don't have to believe it. You can think that I was paid to do this test. That all of this is make-believe. Or you can believe 1 in a million. He started at 139 pounds. He wasn't eating enough calories. He wasn't eating enough protein. He wasn't active whatsoever. You're thinking, well, his genetics suck. Look how small he was. Yeah, because he was inactive. And so bro put on over 40 pounds in a couple of years. How do you think that is? By eating finally and training. And then the amazing genetics that were underneath, they came through. He has a very small waist, and he put on a lot of muscle very quickly because bro started to work out. He locked in. Does that mean that his genetics are better than everyone in the world? No. Do I think that he would be an amazing IFBB pro, probably beat Chris Bumstead if he took steroids? No. But what I do know is most people who train like he did for 2 or 3 years probably not going to gain 45 pounds of muscle. But just because most can't, does that mean that he couldn't, that he didn't? It's not fair to say that. And so if bro does everything, he's already done 2 blood work tests. He offers $100,000 to anyone if he ever fails. What has Ashton Hall done? Mike O'Hearn, Dalen Bailey, how many times have they gotten their blood work taken? And so of all the people in the world, of all the crazy transformation, Hussein's has to be one of the few that you could actually believe. Now, is it possible that he took steroids at, for example, age 19, 20, and he came off of it back then, that he made a whole bunch of those gains back then by taking Ostarine, and that he stopped and managed to keep them? It's possible, maybe, but it's unlikely, because when you use performance-enhancing drugs and you stop them, your physique, it usually regresses. His physique, it got better. And so when you look at everything, every single factor, I'm concluding lifetime natural. And if you don't believe it, that is amazing. I'm not forcing you to believe it. It's a testament to just how rare this transformation actually is. Hussein takes it as a compliment. Imagine knowing that you're natural. You truly know it. Like when I was a teenager in my 20s competing, and people say, I don't believe that you're natural. They tell me to my face, there's no way you got that physique natural. And I knew that I did. Do you know how great of a feeling that actually was? When I'm winning bodybuilding competitions against people who are on steroids and I'm natural and I know it. Not many greater feelings than that. Would it be fun for them to all believe you? Yeah, it's kind of cool. But at the same time, no. Because if everyone believed it, it wouldn't be unbelievable. And so the fact that so many people think it's unbelievable, there's no way that it's possible. And you know that you did it, because trust me, Hussein knows if he did or not. That is an amazing feeling. Highly recommend that you get it yourself. And so I know some of you have been saying, one blood work, it doesn't prove anything. Well, it actually proves that he wasn't on anything in that period of time. Yeah, you're right. He could have taken something previous to that. But what about 2 blood works at different times? And remember, he entered a drug-tested bodybuilding competition. You saw his physique, 166 pounds. Did his physique look impossible to build natural? 166 pounds, 5'11.5". They hide it in men. He's not lying about his height, of which many people accuse him. Look at the leg size in comparison to upper body. His skin, there's no acne. It's not exceptionally hairy. Oftentimes he takes testosterone, you grow some hair. You don't see the acne, you don't see the hair, you don't see needle marks, you don't see swelling, you don't see site injections. I don't ever remember seeing him with the telltale puffy face from being on performance-enhancing drugs. You get that puffier face look. Remember, I had that in the past. He wasn't crazy dry with crazy veins. And you all realize that he adds some detail to his photos. What am I going to call that? He photoshops. No. He adds contrast and plays with the lighting on the photos, and it makes his physique look a little bit freakier than it actually is. Now, I asked Goop to see, is this guy photoshopping? Because I was going to expose him. Y'all think that I'm covering for him. I literally sent photos, videos to Goop. Goop will verify it. Y'all know Goop. He says, nope, this is him. He did it. When I say he's natural, I'm not covering for him to help him. I'm being honest. If he's lying, I will tell you about it. Hussein has the 1 in a million genetics with the small waist, makes the chest look incredible, the full chest, and bro's natural. And so sorry to disappoint you, but 1 in a million, I rest my case. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Guys, there are so many supplements. If you want to increase your testosterone, you have low testosterone, you can get G-Test Max, G-Test Platinum, GLP Max if you're hungry. You can get Blue Lobster. You can also get Hussein Mode. You can get Janeke's Juice, GO2 Max, Turk Builder Max, everything. And so if you want it, don't forget code Greg, 15% off. Interested in coaching? Apply by clicking the link in the description. We'll read your blood work, tell you all about it. As you can see, detailed blood work, weekly check-ins, FaceTime with Coach Greg, unlimited text messages. You get a diet, a training program, everything with adjustments that you need. And so the prices, they're dramatically reduced. Click the link in the description. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. Interested in the cookbook, the training book, the clothing line, get to the website. And until next time, I am out.